Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're having an awesome day. I'm Guns for Hire, and welcome to Game Flash. Not sure how many of you have been following the announcement of the Steam box, the kind of not really a replacement for PC, at least that's what they're saying. They're saying we're not here, Valve's saying we're not here to replace PCs, we're here to enter the living rooms. Basically another console for your living room on the large screen TV where everyone can sit around and play all the favorite games that you would normally play on Steam on your PC, but now in the living room with you and your friends and your family. Well, we got some specs on it now, and I don't know how definitive they are, but we look at some of the information. Now, the Steam box, they said the size of it will be probably around the PS3 Slim. I believe it's the Slim anyway, about 12 inches and blah, 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 so many inches thick or whatever. So we're talking about roughly the size of a PS3 Slim. Now, what's inside this thing, and this is where it becomes possibly problematic, and I gotta disclose right now that I'm actually a huge fan of Steam. I don't even know when the last time I bought an actual game for my console, like went out and physically bought it. Almost all my games that I purchase are through Steam or on my computer, through Origin with Battlefield 4. So I'm very much into PC and I support Steam. I think it's a brilliant application. I love the cloud service through Steam. I think it's great. I don't have games anywhere. I could log into someone else's computer and actually play my games there, like depending on my library. I fully support Steam, but I do see some issues with the Steam box. Now, the language in terms of what's in it is like some have this, some have that, so I'm assuming that there's going to be options in it. Now, in terms of the CPUs, we've got your standard CPUs. I think like they have the i7 in there, the i5, and I believe you can even have the i3. But again, if you're looking at new hardware, if you're gonna drop this kind of coin, people are like, oh no, you could get it pretty cheap if you just put the i3 in there and something else or whatever the case may be. But really, for PC people that know this stuff, you don't put in something that's generations old. You just don't do that. PC people don't do that unless you're just entering into PC and that's it. I mean, most people that PC game I'm not talking about top of the line stuff. I'm not saying that they're gonna get top of the line CPUs, but usually, it's like on par or above, not, previous generations. So the i3, while it's there, is kind of like, hey, here's an entry level one. It's not gonna be the greatest, but then you look at the GPUs, and this is where I kind of see an issue. You've got options for the NVIDIA Titan. You got a GTX 780, 770, and I believe, 760 and a GTX 660. But all of them are fairly pricey, and especially if you're putting in a GTX Titan. If I'm going to put a GTX Titan in anything, it's going to be in my PC. And I love my PC, and I've got a GTX 780 right now in there. And I love it. And if I was gonna get something like that, it would not be in a Steam box, no offense. But think about it this way. If that kind of GPU is going in there, that GPU alone, I mean, what is it? Also, it has 16 gigs for the CPU and 3 gigabytes DDR5 for the GPU with a 1 terabyte hard drive. That kind of hardware in there is gonna shoot that price up. Maybe they make some deals. Maybe they make some deals with NVIDIA. They sell it at a discount. Maybe they certain amount of money is going to go to NVIDIA, they lower the price or whatever, but Steam has got to make it back in their sales, in their software. They've got to do it, which most of the companies do. A PS3 did that on launch. Originally, not on launch, but later, when they had to drop the price because it was so expensive. They realized that they made a foobar mistake there, and they lost. They sold units. Once they dropped that 600 price point, they were actually selling the console at a loss, but they still made money because of the software sales, which is what Steam can do. And like I said, I love Steam. I love the software. I mean, I like the idea, and I was excited. I'm like, ooh, Steam's getting a console for the living room. But then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, Titan 780. What's the price of that Steam box gonna be? $1,000? I mean, the Titan alone is $1,000, let alone putting in the processor there. I mean, if it's not to compete against PCs, how is a home console, the people that play in console games, PC, as a PC gamer, and if you're a PC gamer, you know that, well, for the most part, maybe some of you disagree, but for the most part, you know that Steam is a pretty good software company, that it's a pretty good service to have. So when you look at the, Steam box, you're like, oh, that's actually not too bad. Wow, the whole library there, especially if it's gonna sell well. But as a non-PC gamer, as a console gamer, they're gonna look at, they're like, okay, so kind of the same games, available on the library, not really too much experience with it, and over $1,000 for it when I can get a PS4 for $300. And I know what you're saying. I know that obviously having a Titan GPU in there was way beyond, you know, what a PS4 is probably capable of doing. It's next generation, but still, you know, putting those kind of components. But how are you going to transfer that? Who's going to buy that? If you're a PC gamer and you've got your PC, whether it's in the living room or downstairs or wherever it is, you've probably already put all that money in there. And you're like, well, if I want it on the TV, I'll just hook it up to the TV. You're already aware of that. Are you actually, as a PC gamer with your souped up PC, going to buy a Steam box that costs $1,000, $1,500? Maybe they sell it slightly under, but $900 as your console for upstairs? I know I wouldn't, and I love Steam. I think it's great, but with my PC already set up with Steam, no way I'm putting that up there. If anything, I would put a PS4. Anyway, I'm curious to know what you guys feel. Is this a good move? Like with all these options in there saying this or this or that, if the Steam box, let's just say it's $1,000, for whatever reason they can put in a GTX 780 or a Titan and all the other configurations in there and sell it at $1,000, which I highly doubt it, unless it's at a huge loss and they're hoping for the software sales. How many people do you think are going to buy this? As a PC gamer, are you going to buy this? If you're a PC gamer and you've got Steam and you got a good computer, are you thinking that this is going to be good? Are you thinking that, hey, yeah, I'll spend $1,000 and put the console up there? And as a console gamer, if you're a PS3, Xbox 360, or you're getting the Xbox One and the Xbox or the PS4, or maybe you haven't, is this an option for you? $1,000 Steam console in your living room. Would you get that over the Xbox One or the PS4? I'm curious. I think it's not a good move. I love Steam, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if this is really going to make a hit or an impression in the console market, because they said they're not competing against PC. So if they're not competing against PC, obviously they're competing against consoles, and I just don't see it happening.